Nothing. All right, well, it is 6:30. Let's call this meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call of the members. Matt Yett and myself present. Susan Wood.
Present.
John Christ.
Present.
Phil Lamroom.
Present.
Michael Bouchard.
Present.
Molly McCann is absent. Neil MacGyver.
Present.
And Bradford Puffer.
Yep.
Excellent. Do we have a spot to sit Bradford tonight, or are we?
So far, Molly is not here yet, though she did indicate she would be here, so until such time.
All right, Brad, would you like to be seated as a voting member tonight? Sure. Excellent. Thank you very much. And we'll move on to a review of the minutes from February 5th's meeting.
Molly's here.
All right. We'll continue with a review of the minutes.
Look good to me.
There was an error. March 2nd is the day of the meeting, not March 3rd.
Oh, good catch.
You're more welcome to. I'd love to have you sit next to me.
Yeah.
You got sight
Well, with that amendment, I move we approve the minutes with that amendment.
Second.
Point of order. Is Molly seated or is Bradford
Oh,
seated?
yeah.
Bradford's seated right now.
I'll second.
Okay, so I'm not seated at the moment?
Thank you.
I'll second.
That's got it for a second.
Actually, I'm gonna abstain anyway, so Michael can second.
Any other questions on the minutes? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay? Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain. Excellent. Thank you very much. Joseph, communications received by the board.
Yeah, we have a few. Let's do the first one. We received a letter requesting appointment to the planning board as an alternate. That, under the current procedure, is still a select board appointment, but as per the policy that the select board had established, they've asked folks to meet first with the planning board before going on to the select board for that appointment. So we do have a letter from Todd Chappell, who is, I believe, here tonight as well. So I don't know if you want to have the board or myself read the letter, or if you want to have Mr. Chappell come up and say
I'd like,
anything.
if Mr. Chappell's here, I'd like to invite, please come up to the microphone and you may read your letter or discuss with us what you'd like.
No, I was at a public meeting about a month ago, and the announcement was made that there were openings for alternates, send in a letter of interest, so I did that. I have a background in risk management, emergency management. Currently just applying my wares as a farmer here in Plymouth. So that's it. Happy to entertain any questions or work with you. I've done budgets, I've done long-term budgeting, short-term budgeting, all sorts of risk management, so.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your letter.
Thank you.
Are there
Nice
any
meeting you.
questions or anything? If you wouldn't mind, stay at the microphone. We might have some questions. Molly?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hi. I'm just curious about a few things. You just said you're farming. I'm curious about what you're farming.
Trying to grow hay.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, we bought a farm a couple years ago. There's hasn't been any production on it for probably a decade and a half or more. And so we're bringing the fields back. We have chickens, and then once we get fields, then once we get hay, we'll talk about animals or something.
Okay. I read your experience in your letter, and I'm wondering if you're willing to talk a little bit about your perspective on planning and what you feel like we do here as a board member and what you're kind of thinking about for the town.
So my perspective on planning, you need to know where you're going, and you need to know where you're starting from, is the two parts for planning. For the town, I know there are a lot of interest and a lot of opportunities the town has, and I'd like to be part of that. Don't have a great background in the town. I'm new here 2 years ago, 2.5 years, but I just know it's a good town, and I wanted to be involved.
What brought you to Plymouth?
My wife mostly.
Oh, okay, cool. Great. Thank you for answering my questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Todd? Great. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you.
So we have Todd's letter and asking, as a letter of interest to be on the planning board as an alternate, Phil?
I'm gonna abstain from this since I will be considering it later.
Yes, yes.
But no, I'm glad that, we're getting interest and, would encourage other interested parties to continue. It's, I think we have multiple seats for, alternates, and, depending on what happens in the upcoming election, it sounds like there's gonna be some potential for an open seat, so,
As well as the ZBA.
yeah, right. No, I don't have any questions or objections here.
Excellent. And I have no objections either. Thank you for coming forward. It's always nice to see new faces and new interest for the board and bring different perspectives.
I fully support it.
Excellent.
I have a thought. I mean, this is not speaking in favor or not in favor of this particular letter here. I think we've had this conversation before in various different ways, and I know this is all going to be changing as we become an elected board, and this decision will be falling on us going forward. But for now, it's on the select board. I would love to see this process get a bit more formalized in terms of like maybe having like a sit-down interview process or something with the board, which I think could be really helpful in multiple directions, so we can get to know a candidate better before we, like Molly asked some questions, for example, before we kind of give a yay or nay, and go in the other direction as well, so we can kind of give anybody who wants to join this board a little bit better sense of like who we are and have a little bit more of a formal process, because it's a little bit kind of ad hoc and kind of hard to know what's coming and why people are accepted and approved and such at this point. And again, it's not really speaking in favor or not for this particular letter, just broader picture of the process.
I have thoughts on that as well, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I think if there's going to be kind of a formalized process, it might be a good idea to kind of have, 3 or 4 standard questions that we provide to interested parties, so that, and allow them to ponder that, and then, that can be a basis for discussion when they come in.
Yeah.
Just if I can ask one, my understanding was that the whole board has to be elected before before the board can appoint alternates. Okay, there was a question at the last select board meeting. I think Scott was under the impression that in March this board would be responsible for that, but I think it's going to be
One more position, which is
right.
I'm holding that up.
No, it's not you personally. It's the election cycle. But yeah, so this board won't be appointing alternates or filling interim vacancies until March of 2027.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
At that point, we might have some new bylaws, maybe we can talk about formalizing that.
Yeah, right.
And I like that idea because in the past, whether we had made recommendations for or against in the past, it often doesn't matter when it gets to select board.
And often the individual's not here,
Yep.
so there are no questions.
Right.
And it's just some random letter which may or may not have information in it. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I appreciate you coming.
In my experience, when you have, several alternates, it's nice to have, it's nice to have a selection of alternates who are already up to speed. If there was an interim vacancy and we had to seat someone, like, it would be very easy to seat one of our existing alternates. At one point, we had multiple alternates. It's a pretty easy thing to do, and I think encouraging people to sign up to be alternates, they get a seat at the table, they get to learn about the process, they listen. Obviously this board is welcoming about alternates providing input, even if they're not voting, and I think that's part of the process of onboarding someone to this role when there becomes a vacancy, or if there's a seat, if there's an election and they choose to run. So, I think moving forward, I think it's a good thing for us to discuss, for this board to discuss, kind of when we look at the rules of procedure.
Yeah, it does make for that much smoother transition.
But for now, I'm supportive. I'm happy that is it Chappell? Mr. Chappell applied. He's expressed an interest.
Yep, likewise. Excellent. Is there any further discussion on this topic tonight? Well, excellent. I'll support this letter moving forward to the select board, and best of luck to you. Potentially see you in the future. Thank you very much.
Extra sound.
As say, is that an unmuted person, or is that downstairs or something?
Nope, we did have some background noise, so should be good now.
Thank you. I thought I was hearing things. We'll move on to applications. First off, we'll start with.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything.
We'll take a pause here. I'm sorry, can you hear us here, William Winchester? Can you hear us on the microphone? Is there an issue on your end?
We are muted.
Typical of my relationship with the town. Oh, well.
I tell you what, we're going to mute all attendees online tonight. And if you do have a comment or would like to join in the conversation, please raise your hand. Visually on there, and Joseph will call on you. But moving forward, we'll mute everyone online. Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much. And once again, just raise your hand on the emoji board, or whatever you call it, and we'll call on you.
What is it?
There we go.
Excellent. Thank you for your patience. We'll move on to the first item on the agenda tonight under number 5, boundary line adjustments for Stone Bluff Property Holdings LLC, Mark and Melissa Murphy. Joseph, do you mind running us through this quickly as the applicants join us?
Sure. So we have a boundary line adjustment application here from Bedford Design for Mark and Melissa Murphy and Stone Bluff Property Holdings. Same applicant, Stone Bluff, as another application, but this is a fully separate item, separate properties, so not really any relation between the two submittals, even though it is that same, you'll see the same name as the property owner and the representative. So this is a boundary line adjustment between two existing lots, one at the end of Claybrook Drive and one on Ledgeside Lane. Ledgeside Lane lot, 95 Ledgeside is the address. Would reduce in size, or I'm sorry, would increase in size from 11 to 29.18 acres. And then the property on Claybrook Drive would decrease from 35.32 to 17.14 acres. And both are split zoned between agricultural and ICD zones, but all road frontage is in the ag zone.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Before I ask the applicant to speak on any of this, does anyone have any questions or comments, or before we get rolling? Hello, Mr. Applicant.
How you doing? My name's George Chadwick with Bedford Design. Here tonight representing Mark Murphy of Stone Bluff Holdings. There was a great introduction. This is a lot line adjustment plan, so there's really not a lot to it. And I apologize if I'm going to reiterate some of the things that were just said. Tonight we're looking at a boundary line adjustment between map 217, lot 17, which is 35.3 acres in size, with frontage on Claybrook Road. That is the long lot that's here. Claybrook is right here, and that's where the frontage is. And map 212, lot 3, which is 11 acres with frontage on Ledgeside Lane. That is this lot here, and this being Ledgeside Lane. Ledgeside Lane. As was stated, it's owned agricultural, industrial, commercial. The zone line is right here. All the improvements and home siting on this particular lot will be in the agricultural zone or the residential zone. The proposal is to adjust the lot line between the common lot line between the two lots to the center line of Claybrook. So Claybrook will be the center line of the new parcels, this being one parcel, and that being the remainder for the lot on Ledgeside. So with the lot line adjustment, we're reducing the lot size of 217 lot 17 to 17.1 acres, and increasing the lot size of map 212, lot 3, to 29.17 acres. Both still very large lots. Currently, map 12, lot 3 has a home on it, septic system, well, and there'll be no changes to the lot other than adding increased area to that lot. Lot 217, excuse me, map 217, lot 17, the one with access off of Claybrook Drive, will become a home lot. We do have a septic for that lot already approved for a 5-bedroom home. In order to gain access to the buildable area on that lot, which is about in this area, we needed a wetland permit. And we did get the wetland permit approved. It's for 4,865 square feet. We did meet with the Conservation Commission. They were fine through the process. If the board would like a copy of the septic and wetland permit, I have a copy here. I believe it's in your files already. The plan set that's in front of you, I know I've been talking over the cover sheet because everything's on one sheet. The second and third sheet of the set will be the recordable plans, which note the bounds to be set. And then the fourth and fifth sheet are the topographic plans. That shows the topo, the wetlands as they've been mapped, and the placement of the house that was approved, or the driveway that was approved, and the location of a possible house and septic that was approved. Access again being off Claybrook Drive. With that, I think I'm here to answer any questions. It's pretty simple.
Thank you very much, George.
That's, isn't that the pond, right? Pond, Plymouth, that's the pond we're talking about?
What happens when, so I know Claybrook is very minimal brook, not a lot of flow through it, right? And this doesn't necessarily pertain to your application tonight in full, but just wondering, what happens when boundary lines follow bodies of water and the bodies of water change?
The
Like,
property
is that
line.
changing?
Yep, property line stays with the center line of the brook. Think of big, out here, the main river, right?
And that's what I think.
And oxbows are formed.
Yeah.
The boundary, according to boundary law, stays with the original center line of the brook. The lot area may change. That's why when you look at subdivision sheets, when you deal with a brook, there's a line of closure that's developed, and it's this dashed line that's right here. You can see it labeled, line of closure. That's so surveyors can actually close the lot to make sure their survey is accurate and there isn't a gap or gore created because of the survey. Technically, the boundary stays with the center line of the brook.
Yep, all right.
So,
Thank you.
can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah, please.
So it's, even if the brook changes direction, it's still the center line of the brook? So would our tax maps be accurate, for example, if the brook changed direction?
So the tax maps are never survey quality. The recorded plan is actually the legal document, and if the stream channel changes, what you're saying is that one parcel may get more acreage and one parcel may lose acreage?
It would, and depending on how large the stream is and how much sand is deposited and stuff, you know, there may be land added to a particular lot, whether developable or not, depending on the town's regulations. That's another thing, but the land area may change a little bit.
I find that to be interesting, because
Yeah.
that's not what happened with the Plymouth town boundary, because as we all know, there's a chunk of
Yeah, that's in,
Plymouth on the east side of
Yeah.
the Pemmy that used to be
Part of the brook.
part of, on the west side of the Pemmy.
The boundary line you're saying
The town
didn't
boundary line
change.
did not
It's
change.
not changed.
Neil has a story.
It depends on whether the changes from accretion and loss, or whether the stream jumped channel in a major flood.
Huh.
Interesting.
That makes a difference.
You're right. You're correct.
Does it?
Yep, it does, yeah.
That's why the town owns the other side of the Pemmy River.
At Oxbow there.
Yeah, there was a major flood and it got cut off.
Okay,
Oh, interesting. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Just always curious when it's like, how does this continue in perpetuity?
I'm always bothered by these questions, but that's why we have licensed surveyors who are presenting these plans and should be aware of these before they come to us.
And the good news is the lots are large enough that even with some adjustments from the river stream flow, we're still gonna have buildable lots on.
Yes.
And that's why the question doesn't necessarily pertain to, nervous about a non-conforming lot
Yeah,
being generated. But, yeah,
That would have to be a major swing.
that would be,
For such a small
would there be other issues going on?
Yeah, we got very steep slopes on both sides of this thing, so it'd be a major, major flood. I think we'll all be, not around at that
Our
point.
priorities would be much different than sitting here tonight.
And we do have a question in the chat. If you'd like, I can read that during the public comment, or I can read it now. It's up to you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments at the moment? If not, we can move to the question in the chat.
Wait,
We need to find this as complete or not,
Sorry, are we
right?
doing,
Thank you very much.
my comment, yeah.
Settle me down. Settle me down, Holly.
You're not requesting any waivers, correct?
No, we're not.
I find this complete in its
I
application.
think so as well. I move we accept the application as complete.
Second.
There's no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Okay, now we'll move on to approving this.
We're hearing.
We'll open it to public hearing. Joseph, comments online?
Yeah, the question here is with regards to the boundary. A individual asks, the notes include the following. The parcels are located in agricultural and industrial commercial development zoning districts. However, when I looked up the parcel information, both are zoned agricultural. Can you clarify that? And I can speak to that, or if the board wants to. If it's helpful, I'll quickly share as well the sort of overview plan on Zoom. So
Yeah, if you
can
could
see
share
that.
your overview plan and speak to that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so is the plan here, which is just, the overview, does show the boundary line as changing here. This is the stream, and then you can see the match line, and then the third sort of quasi-horizontal line here is the zone boundary. So you can see that a portion of both properties does fall in the ICD zone. However, neither lot has frontage in the ICD zone, so generally speaking, from a zoning perspective, our ordinance states that if a property has all of its frontage in one zone, that's generally the zone that it would be treated as being within. There is some nuance to that, but that's generally the quick summary of how the zoning treats split zone lots.
And if I understand correctly, the amended lot, one of these will only be in the agricultural zone and will cut off its tail that's in the ICD.
Yeah, that's true.
So one lot will remain in both. The northernmost lot off of Claybrook is gonna, is that the one? Sorry.
I don't know.
No, off Ledgeside, lot 212-3 will remain in both the ag zone and the ICD, and lot 217, map 217, lot 17 will just be in the ag zone.
Yeah, that's how I interpret that.
Correct, yep.
Yeah.
Great. I hope that answered your question online. Thank you very much for your inquiry. Are there any other comments from the public tonight upon this matter? Well, with that being said, it is 6:54. We'll close the public hearing on this and bring it back to the board and see if this is something we are looking to approve.
It seems fairly straightforward, and I think the applicant has been very thorough in providing us with the appropriate documentation of everything that we need.
Agreed.
I agree.
Yeah. I think boundary line adjustments are fairly straightforward. It's clear what the intent is. It's in this situation. yeah, I have no problem supporting this.
So should we move on to findings of fact?
I think we shall.
I would say both lots meet our dimensional requirements in the agricultural zone.
Does not need water sewer approval?
I would say both parcels are currently split between the ICD and the ag zones, but road frontage for both parcels are in the ag zone district.
Looks like we have in our memo a note that the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services approval is in place for construction for the septic system, and a dredge and fill permit is in place for construction as well for the driveway.
That works for me.
I'm happy with that.
It's not gonna be, no, probably not, no conditions except for filing everything, which is barely a condition anyways, it's procedural. So I move we approve the application.
Okay.
Thank you, John and Sue. There's no further discussion. All in favor of approval of this application, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Thank you very much, George.
Thank you very much.
Adjustment has been approved. Thank you.
The next one got me confused a little bit.
That's
When I
right.
saw the same names and I was like, these wrote, like nothing matches up.
So we are going to move on to a completely different application.
Change my hat.
Thank you, please.
All right,
Yes.
I'm ready.
Completely different application. This is for a site plan review applied by Stonebluff Property Holdings. Joseph, would you mind running us through this briefly?
Sure thing, yeah, this is a site plan review application, also from Bedford Design on behalf of Stone Bluff Property Holdings. In this case, we are on Yetton Road, parcel 213-23-2. So this is the west side of Yetton Road, south of the, I believe it's the Plymouth Commerce Park Plaza. It's a proposal to develop 2 contractor storage buildings or contractor unit buildings, one of which is about 18,000 square feet and the other of which is about 20,000 square feet, along with associated site drainage and utility improvements. The property is located in the agricultural zoning district, and the applicant has provided a site plan, a trip generation memo, and a stormwater drainage plan, along with the application.
Great, thank you. Welcome back, George.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak on your application?
Sure, you want to vote on acceptance first, or would you want me to go through the presentation? It's up to you.
Do you have anything to add other than the brief overall that Joseph just did?
I'll
If
just
not-
elaborate on it, but
Please.
what he said is correct
Okay.
and accurate. If you'd like to, I can go through the presentation and then,
We'll hold off and look at the acceptance of the application completeness first.
And are there any waivers or anything?
no.
It looks like we need a couple of waivers in the application. In the checklist, number 7, an elevation view or photograph of all buildings indicating their dimensions and surface treatment, as well as an estimated construction timetable. In the application, they're not marked, and there are no waivers. And number 23 on the second page of the checklist, I guess this is up to, hold on, let me read real quick. Yeah, provision for future expansion of sewage and water facilities is number 23, and there's nothing marked there as well.
For me, my biggest one there is the elevation. We've often had discussions, including with what's kind of similar, like storage units and such, about the elevation and in terms of community concerns and such. And I mean, obviously, at some level, it's just about whether it meets our regulations. But I know this has been a concern, and it is something in our regulations, and it might come up in a special exception hearing as well. But yeah, so the elevation is the one that like strikes me most.
Yeah, me too, more than the construction timetable.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Please.
We certainly can supply that. I would ask that the board accept the application in order to move on with the public hearing, knowing that an elevation will be supplied. You know, I'm not sure we're gonna get an approval tonight anyways, so I may be back next month. And we can, I don't have my state permits in hand yet, so, and I'm not sure if that's a sticking point with the board or not, but if you could accept it for the purposes of moving ahead on the public hearing, then it'll allow us to proceed.
So I would say for me, I think like permitting and stuff, we can sometimes just make a condition of approval.
Okay.
But I wouldn't want to probably give an approval myself at least without the elevation. But we could kind of be flexible, I suppose, about the acceptance depending on other people. I mean, I'm somewhat flexible. I'd want to see it before approval. So it's not really complete. And I don't know how we feel about fudging that. Because if we have a public hearing, it's going to be without this information. So there is that question, but.
Given that the applicant is planning to appear in front of the ZBA for a special exception, our decision is not likely to, if we were to continue this to the March 5th meeting, that's only 2 days after the initial ZBA hearing. It's not much of a delay. That would give us time to have this hearing, have another hearing, allow some public input. I don't think this board tends to be very expeditious about accepting and approving applications in one night, and we don't have to. We can continue the hearing if there's additional information needed. But we can also make conditional approvals.
I think site plans were pretty often, like, we would often do continue, but.
Depending on if they're complete or not, if other information is needed.
In this case, I probably personally would want, I mean, I might be able to fudge a elevation for a acceptance maybe, but like not necessarily for an approval. I think it's also worth considering, we talked about this a couple months ago, I think, maybe even last month.
It was last month.
The question of whether or not we want to talk about engineering review prior to acceptance rather than after acceptance.
Yep.
And have that be part of the acceptance, is that we agree to do a engineering review.
Yeah, and I think that's been brought up in the past too, is that we've thought about that.
So generally speaking, we do it afterwards, but like, I think it's a good practice to potentially do it ahead of time.
Yeah, I would agree with that, in case something comes up in the review, right? That should be concerning to us.
So are you okay with a third-party engineering review and putting money in escrow?
No, I don't. My only comment is we are submitting to Alteration of Terrain, who looks at the drainage in great depth, and I believe their standards are more stringent than Plymouth standards. So I have no problem with it, but just be assured there is a third-party review on the drainage already.
Okay.
Well, I guess the question bears, do we want to entertain accepting this with?
As long as the applicant has recognized that there are a couple items that are not currently present and is willing to provide them as part of the review process, I'm comfortable accepting.
I think I would also strongly agree that if we don't have the elevation, considering that this is a application that also will require a special exception hearing with the zoning board, I think we do need to have all of the information before we approve anything, and I think the public needs to have all the information before they approve everything as well. Before we approve anything as well, and so I think if we choose to accept this as complete, we definitely need to have a second public hearing before we approve anything. To do due diligence.
I support that.
I agree. Sounds like a conditional acceptance. here.
It's like we do an exception, a conditional exception with the,
I think it sounds like we have to just have a tacit agreement among us, not really tacit, but we're saying it out loud to everyone, that we will have a second hearing, based on that missing information, and we can't really approve it without that. But we can accept it.
And we have people here tonight. If we accept, we can have a public hearing and at least take some input from people who are here.
I feel comfortable.
Okay. So I move we accept the application as complete.
Do we have a second on John's motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstentions? Now that we have accepted the application as complete, let's discuss said application for approval. So, going back to, what we were just discussing.
Narrative, or?
Yeah, run us down with the narrative.
Sure. Again, George Chadwick representing Stone Bluff Properties. Thank you very much for accepting the application tonight and allowing us to at least present the project and get some comments back from the board and the public. Tonight, we're here to discuss a site plan for tax map 213, lot 23-2. If the board agrees, remembers, we're in front of the board on December 12th of last year to create this lot. This lot was one of 3 lots that were created out of a larger parcel. This being the lot that's closest to, closest to the main intersection over here. The parcel's vacant. It has access to municipal sewer. The parcel is zoned agricultural. The proposal is for a commercial service and contractor storage use. As was stated earlier, we have 2 buildings. The total of the 2 buildings is 38,400 square feet. The use is allowed by special exception. And we have filed an application with the town, and we will be in front of the zoning board on March 3rd. Access to the parcel is via Yetton Road. We do have a DOT curb cut permit that was issued at the time of subdivision. At that time, we were contemplating mini storage on this lot. So the DOT curb cut permit needs to be amended for the particular use that's in front of you tonight. We did prepare a traffic letter and submitted it to the board. The project generates 189 vehicles per day with an AM peak hour trip generation of 64 and a PM peak hour generation of 74. The details of the numbers in that are located in the report. Stormwater for the project will be collected, treated, and discharged to one of 2 basins, one being a bioretention basin, and the other one being a gravel wetland. There is a decrease in runoff for the 2, 10, 25, and 50-year storms. And drainage calculations, as well as a stormwater maintenance plan has been submitted to the town and is in your files. The building will be serviced by a proposed well and connected to municipal sewer. The sewer calculations and sewer plans have been submitted to Jason Randall of the Plymouth Village Water Sewer Department. We submitted them well over a month ago. He came back with some comments. We addressed his comments, and they're back in their possession. We believe there's adequate parking for the project. We have 77 parking spaces for the 38,400 square feet. That's approximately 1 per 500 square feet. Your regulations don't have a particular parking calculation for this type of use. So we feel it's adequate parking. I'd look to hear what the board thinks about that. We prepared a landscape plan. Where we listened to the planning board during the subdivision, I think it was brought up that anything that gets developed on this piece, we should probably consider the abutter across the street, being the only residential abutter. So we did. Majority of the plantings are here in this location, that being the house. The type of vegetation in that buffer are red cedar and a form of pine tree, Korean pine. They do provide a good screen, as well as supplemental coniferous type trees. And the details that are on the plan. We also provide a lighting plan with photometrics. And there is no spillover off the property. The light fixtures are dark sky compliant and be located on the building at a height of 12 feet. There aren't any pole lights in this particular instance. And lastly, like I said before, we do need to amend the DOT curb cut for this particular use. We have a wetland permit that's filed. There's 3,462 square feet of wetland impact. We did meet with the Conservation Commission on January 20th, and they didn't have any concerns. And then lastly, we need to submit for an alteration of terrain permit, which we have done as well already. With that, I think I'm here to answer any questions the board may have.
Looking at the landscape plan, just because it's kind of where it is depicted most clearly, there's on the border of the property what looks like to be some sort of either guardrail or fence. Could you give us more information about the height, or if it is a tall fence, or if it is a basic guardrail, what is the structure?
It is a guardrail, it's not a fence.
Okay.
There is no fence around this one, as you may have seen in the mini storage concepts that may have been provided in the past on this particular parcel, but may have these out of order. What I got in front of you is the grading plan. It shows that the elevation of the parking lot elevation is somewhere around 506, and the elevation of Yitten Road in that area is 502, plus or minus.
It's about 4 feet taller.
Oh, 4 feet above Yitten Road. We did locate the landscaping up on the embankment, so to provide the screening. It's not down on the roadside or within the right-of-way. It's up top on the project side of the boundary line.
Matt, so I do have some more technical questions, but my first question, I think, I'm not sure really, I have a question about curiosity. I'm not sure it really figures into whether or not we end up approving this. Did you all do any sort of needs assessment or anything for this type of use? I'm just looking at this. This is a lot of bays, and I'm curious if you've assessed the need for this many and what that
I'm gonna
looks
have to have
like.
my client answer that, but I believe what I hear is that there is a need for this type of use. I know you may have approved one fairly recently across the street, a diagonal across the street. doesn't seem to be moving ahead too fast, but, Mark, do you have anything to add?
Well, that's part of the reason why we phased.
If you wouldn't mind stepping up to the microphone, Mark, just people online can't hear you in the future. Thank you.
Hi, Mark Murphy. The reason why we kind of have this laid out in phases is that particular question. I think there's identifiable need for probably phase 1. Phase 2 might be a little bit down the road. We're not sure, but it makes sense for us to do all the engineering and everything at once.
Okay.
May I ask, which one is phase 1 and which one is phase 2?
This front one would be phase 1.
Okay.
It appears you've got lined parking on the outside of both buildings and a strip down the middle. Are you anticipating loading docks, overhead doors down the middle?
Overhead doors, no loading docks as in elevated loading docks, but overhead doors would be down the middle, yeah.
At grade overhead doors?
At grade overhead doors. That also takes most of the more industrial traffic and puts it between the buildings where really nobody outside the property is going to be able to see it.
I guess I'm starting to wonder about the nature, so that, the commercial storage seems somewhat innocuous, and it seems like this is set up to be more of manufacturing, or could it be trucking? I'm anticipating somebody might rent 3 or 4 of these and have some kind of a shop space. Is that, it seems like a fairly, I'm not saying there's not need for that. I just want the site plan to be clear about the potential commercial use of this facility.
Target customers are really more contractors, plumbing, HVAC, whatnot, that sort of a use.
Yep.
Could someone purchase multiple of them or rent multiple of them and do something? Yeah, but the way the structure is designed, those walls between them are going to be load bearing. They're not going to be able to just take them all down and make a giant space. Don't really have any interest in seeing it turn into manufacturing. The idea, in my mind here, is to keep it in uses that are going to self-contain pretty well within there. I do own some industrial space, and I know what it's like to deal with certain tenants that make a mess outside, and I don't have any interest in that, and I'm trying to actually fix it in the one place that I have so I don't have that problem anymore. It is designed for local contractors and that sort of use. Other things that I've seen or I've rented to in the past might be flooring contractors. They're a big one. Like they need a lot of inventory space for the flooring, but they don't have any real process that happens at the location. It's all done off site. So they might have trucks, they might have a high need for inventory, but they're not going to be doing any processing. So I'm cognizant of that concern, and I don't really want to have any sort of manufacturing use in this. So it's best I can say, I guess. I am aware that this doesn't slot really neatly into Plymouth's existing use profile.
Table of uses,
yeah, table of uses. So we had to pick one. In talking with town planning, that's what we picked because I guess it meets as close as we can. So it is a little bit outside the boxes that you've drawn, but again, I'm not looking for any kind of a manufacturing use here or any kind of heavy industrial of any kind. Certainly not trucking. This is not set up in any way to facilitate a trucking company. That we would need all asphalt for a trucking company because they generally have big trucks. They need places to park. This wouldn't fit for that.
What's the dimension of each unit? I didn't see that anywhere. Just trying to get an idea of the size of each unit plus the size of like 14-foot overhead doors, 12-foot overhead doors.
So the units are 48 feet deep.
Yep.
It's written right on the side right there, but I can't read it on these small plans. And I believe each unit's 20 feet wide.
Okay.
So basically, almost 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, running right around 1,000 square feet.
Matt, may I come back to the phasing question?
Sure.
I see the 48 feet now. Thank you. Yes.
So Molly had mentioned the timetable earlier during the acceptance portion. I didn't really think it was a major concern at the time. But if we're talking about phasing, potentially,
That was my question.
I'm back on the question of timetable. And whether or not, and how we handle that with a site plan that's supposed to be like a complete site plan, and it might be a partial, like, you know, it might be different ultimately than we're seeing in the site plan. And whether that needs to be a note on the site plan or handled in some other way, I'm just kind of thinking about that question.
Sure. I've thought about it. The reason we designed it the way we did, so that if we just put a line across the front side of the back building, we would build everything in the front here first. And I can't annotate that on the plan once, you know, we're in agreement with the board, but that will give enough maneuvering room for the front building. It'll give you the parking for the front building. It'll give you the drainage for the front building, the sewer connection. All we'd have to do is run the water as we have it shown out to the well that's in the back.
For me, I would like to see some kind of note on here or something eventually. In case it's not ever completed with both phases, that the site plan is not inaccurate.
Yeah.
If that makes sense as a solution, I'm not sure it does, but that would be my first kind of gut reaction.
May I? Another dimensional question, which comes back to the need for an elevation of the building. Is there somewhere on the plan that tells us what the elevation of the actual building is that I'm just not seeing?
No, it's not on the plan. It'll be on the elevations.
Okay. Is there any information you can give us verbally right now about that?
Sure, it'll meet the town requirements.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't want to pinpoint, yeah, it definitely will meet the town requirements.
Okay.
We won't ask for a waiver. The single story, pitched
Okay.
roof type
Okay.
building, so
Okay, great.
20 feet, 24 feet at the absolute most, probably. Not bad.
I have a question. Will the contractor units have water and sewer facilities?
They will. There'll be a bathroom in each unit with a sink in it, and there'll probably be like a slop sink or something like that in the unit. One question that came up with sewer was what sort of chemicals are gonna be used and stored here? You know, he's concerned with what's going down the drain. We assured him that there'll be no oils and greases, no hazardous chemicals stored in here, nothing that would affect the septic system, or excuse me, the sewer system.
Can I actually follow up with that? I had a question about that when I was reading through this and reading the department review. So I appreciate that. At the same time, I'm in the back of my mind thinking about compliance with that in terms of like people complying with your own rules about like if that is followed. And you have people in these closed storage units, and it's hard to know what's going on inside there sometimes. And if you have a contractor that might not be like doing due diligence to do things correctly and follow the rules, and I'm wondering, like, how does one deal with compliance on an issue like that?
Yeah, in this instance, it's a rental project, right? So it's not a condo, they're not owned by each unit owner, so they do what they want, right? There's no one other control other than, you know, the association or whatever's formed. In this instance, being a rental, it'll be up to, you know, Mark to make sure he knows what's going on in his building. Because ultimately, it's a rental. If something happens, it's not the guy that did it, it's him, right? He owns the building. So it'll be up to him to police it and make sure everyone follows the rules. And not allow uses that happen, you know, a car repair guy that may have oils and chemicals and stuff like that. Don't lease it or don't rent it to that person, right? It'll save
I think I read in the water sewer report that they asked if there were going to be drains in the individual floors inside, and I think you said no.
There will not be any floor drains. In Plymouth, some towns allow floor drains to be tied into the sewer because that's the only place they can go, but in Plymouth, they're not allowed.
Are you planning interior partitions, like if there's a, you know, a bathroom in the front, is there gonna be office space there?
I believe in the front of the building, there'll probably be a small 10 by 10 office, and the remainder of the 10 feet of the 20 will be probably a bathroom and a hallway and enough to get to the storage space in the back.
So the parking, say it was HVAC, electrician, plumber, whatever trade, name your trade. so they have, an outfit that has 3 cube vans, right? So their parking for their vehicles would be designated in the indicated parking spots here. What if they had like trailers and such, like?
Yeah, yes and no. Out behind each unit, if there's 20 feet wide, they're actually able to park 2 vehicles side by side behind the building.
Okay.
And that's where I envision contractor vehicles to be
In
parked.
their section.
In their
between
section,
the
in front of their
bollards, right?
section. Some towns have actually had us line some spaces in there, just, and call them, tenant parking or whatever we want to call them. I don't think it's a need to do that.
So you have other facilities like this you've built in other towns?
I've done quite a few of these.
Would it be possible to get some photos of
Sure.
those buildings up and operating and see, I'm thinking, as an example of what the elevation is and what the use might look like from the outside. And
Sure.
This is sounding a
certainly-
lot more like light industrial to me.
It
Which may not be
probably
an unreasonable
is.
use, but like I've worked in facilities like that, and like I would consider it light industrial.
Sure.
But maybe that's not your intention.
And I'm envisioning, and I hate to even use the address because it has the word industrial in it,
Yeah.
but I'm envisioning East Industrial Drive in Manchester, where there's, you might have a painter, an electrician, and, you have these trades, and in the parking, they have their little storefront, which, a little bit of glass, walks into a 10 by 10 office, but the primary use of these facilities isn't really people operating their business with a storefront. It's the warehouse where they can store their construction equipment, where they can store their stuff, where they have a centralized home for, I outgrew my house, but I can't afford a building on my own. So, this is the
Right.
nice in between. It just happens to be called East Industrial Drive, and yeah.
Makes me
Yeah.
think of finishing touches.
That's
Yeah.
it's a great analogy. Our office used to be on East Industrial Park Drive in Manchester.
Okay.
We moved to Harvey Road by the airport, but there's a lot of those type of uses there. Holt Ave, Pepsi, which is sort of a loop off of East Industrial Park
Yeah.
Drive. There's a lot of those type of uses
Or these
there.
contractor in-betweens, or I don't want to say in-between, because it might be the forever place, but.
So it seems like the buildings that are right on Tenny Mountain Highway, between this site and Tenny Mountain Highway, like, that sounds like it's the same or the same type of building that what you're describing. Like, could we expect the same type of use there? I mean, those have retail. in the
Right,
front. It's flexible.
without the retail component, yes.
So
Because there is
my
some,
question is, you're describing the same type of building with, small office in the front, small bathroom, and basically flexible warehouse space in the back, which can be used for almost anything, which is really what's out there. Like, it's not that different than what we're looking at. In my vision, it's not that different than the structures themselves. Now, the site plan doesn't dictate that the uses are gonna be different, but I'm thinking that, what we're gonna see here is very much the same thing that's right in front of it on Tenny Mountain Highway. There's 2 steel buildings with retail in the front and
warehouse
garage-
space in the back.
garage bay
I think
doors at the
those are
back.
more used as retail type of space, I don't know that
yeah.
the warehouse space is really used much. I've driven around many times.
So
Doesn't
it's-
look like those doors have opened too many times in the back.
Some do. I mean, there's a daycare facility in one of them. There was a CrossFit gym that took up 2 of them. There was
Which aren't
there's
this
there are
type of
there are
use,
medical
right?
facilities,
Isn't this
medical
type of use.
services in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fit almost anything in those buildings if it's, you could finish the interior space. I'm just wondering, how do we, what in the site plan is gonna dictate the potential future use and what people should expect to see on this site?
Yeah.
Sue, did you have a question?
I do. How you're gonna be heating this because there's water? Will there be any chance for propane tanks, oil tanks, or is it gonna be electric?
All electric.
Okay, thank you. Will you
I'm
allow
not,
people to have propane tanks if they want to? I mean, say somebody is renting it, a plumber is renting it, and I
They
don't know.
bring like a space heater hooked off of propane, because the building won't be fitted up
Okay,
with propane. You see those bullet-type propane heaters and stuff that people put in their warehouse space and that. There may be that.
Now, are you gonna petition this off, so the garage in the back, and then you'll have an office space in the front? Are you gonna do that, or are you gonna it's just gonna be one big space and, because I think the size of the unit in the front will dictate whether there's gonna be such realty like you're talking about, as opposed to what you're talking about. Because I do see a big need for these small businesses to have something like this, but it's just, I don't know how you're gonna petition it off if you are.
Yeah, so when we come back with an elevation, I'll come back with a floor plan to show you. But yeah, the intent is to petition off an office in the front, small office, 10 by 10, 12 by 12, whatever it ends up being, and a bathroom with a hallway, probably in between the two to the open space in the back, unfitted up open space in the back.
So is this not, so you said purely electric, no actually, no plans for propane. So is we'll say the warehouse, right? We'll call it the warehouse, the back space, overhead door space. Is that not conditioned at all like that?
It probably would be conditioned, but maybe with electric heaters or something like that.
Okay.
Again, we're not that far down the line yet.
Okay, all right, yeah.
When you say conditioned, do you mean
Heated.
heated or cooled? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Have you considered a solar array?
At this point, no, we haven't. It's something that Mark certainly can consider. He said he'd give it some consideration, sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So in terms of people using the space, and I know, sometimes contractors come in and out, often very early in the morning, sometimes later at night, but often very, very early. Are you gonna have hours of operation? What's the lighting gonna look like around that? Is it 24-hour lighting, or timed, or triggered by motion, or what all
Yes,
this look like?
so we haven't really given a thought to hours of operation, because you're right. Electricians and plumbers sometimes come in at 6 o'clock in the morning. But if they come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, their day's over at 3, right? So we're not worrying about the nighttime. The intent here is to have the lights on a switch, and probably the light behind the building be motion detected. So that these, where they're gonna pull up, get out of their truck, go in their back door, probably have a motion detected light. There's gotta be some sort of security lighting. But the intent isn't to keep it on 24 hours a day.
I have a lighting question as well. We don't always see lighting plans, so I'm not, I'll be the first one to say I'm not that in
Despite
tune
the
with
fact
it.
that we're supposed to.
Yes, thank you for the lighting plan. So it's the Apex Lighting Solutions one, don't, note as page 48. So when I'm looking at this and like, right up next to the building, it says 1.5, 1.5, 1.2, drops down. Looking at like the front towards Yetton Road, once it gets to like 0.3, 0.1, and then it's actually saying like 0.0. Can you help me, like, what does that mean? Does that mean like where it says 0.0, there's like no light?
There's no light.
touching
It'll
that
be,
ground?
it'll be black.
Okay,
It'll be
all right.
dark.
All right.
So as the number gets greater, the higher the intensity is. So the areas that you see 1.2, 2, 3 in some instances
Yep.
are right there, right under the light. It's the highest intensity. The lights are pointing down. They're cutoff type lights and dark sky compliant, pointing down on the pavement. You always want to have where the parking spaces are 0.2 or above. And that's basically what we have here. So you want enough light so it's safe for
Okay.
access to the parking.
I mean,
But you don't want it spilling off onto the neighboring properties and spill out outside of your boundary.
And what does dark sky compliant mean? I love the, like, it sounds great. Like, I'm like, yeah, the dark sky. Yeah,
Go
so
to
like-
Manchester, fly out of Manchester Airport, look out, you see all the light pollution going up into the sky, because
Yes.
the lights are either old and they're not shielded down to point to the pavement that it allows to spill up into the sky, or you see lights that are actually shining up into the sky. The big thing was signs.
Okay.
People always like to put a light on the ground which points up at the sign. That's not dark sky compliant, right?
Okay.
So dark sky You look from the plane, you don't see the, there'll be a glow down there, obviously,
Yeah.
but it won't.
You're not seeing light projecting up.
Another term that sometimes people use is full cutoff, meaning that there's a housing that comes down and like the lamp is actually up above the bottom edge of the housing so that the light does not project horizontally at all, it only goes down. Well, like, if it goes horizontally, it's at a downward angle, so there's no spillage up. It really, from my perspective, being able to see stars at night is a great value, and I think, any commercial development with a lot of lighting, it's important to have dark sky compliant.
Yeah, I read that, I was like, oh, that's very,
Which is also required by our zoning ordinance.
It is.
great.
Most towns.
So you could be standing on Yetton Road and you will not be illuminated. You look down at yourself. You won't see light on you, but you'll look at the building. You'll see some glow.
You'll see glow, yeah,
But it's not. You're not going to have light on you.
correct.
I think that's what it means essentially.
Thank you.
I feel, public hearing ready?
Yeah.
Public hearing ready?
Yeah, does everyone feel good about opening up to a public hearing?
Yep.
Great. Thank you very much, George.
Thank you.
It is 7:36. We'll open this up to a public hearing. If you are here in the audience, please come up to the microphone. And if you're online, please raise your hand and Joseph will call upon you. Please, first one, come on up.
I'm Jack Nelson. I live at 815 Tenny Mountain Highway. I'm an abutter. And we have a couple concerns. One is about the lights, but another one is about the water. And on our property, we're downhill from the elevations that are up in the field where they plan to build. And in the spring, and if we get heavy rains, we do have a small pond that forms on our property. And once it gets to a certain level, it goes parallel with my driveway, with the stone walls where the old road used to be, down into the lower fields, then goes into the culvert that goes under 25 to the river. But, so we're concerned, that's one thing we're concerned about, is keeping that water sustainable, away. I mean, sometimes it gets so deep, we have ducks that stop for a couple days, and things like that. So we're concerned about that. The other thing is we're very concerned about the lights and what's, happens. And also noise after regular working hours.
If they have a stormwater pollution permit, they have to take all that into account.
Okay.
And alteration of terrain permit is gonna take that into account.
Yeah, because like I said, this spring, the water will probably get pretty deep in the first field that's right in front of the house. Probably a couple feet, maybe 2.5 feet deep. And then it kind of tapers out, and then it goes down, like I said, parallel with the old road where the stone walls are that run down, headed towards the traffic circle. Whoops. And then it kind of veers off and drains into the field. And sometimes if you go by there after we've had a heavy rain, you'll see 2 or 3 feet of water down there waiting to go through the culvert underneath 25.
Just the way it is now?
I believe the applicant indicated that everything up to a 50-year storm would have reduced runoff, so their on-site treatment of water would actually reduce the amount, if I understand correctly, would reduce the amount of runoff from that parcel on anything up to at least the 50-year storm? Okay.
We've been there 48 years, so.
Yeah. Well,
we're getting close.
I remember, I think 2003, that we had 300-year storms in 18 months. It's, the frequency of storms is changing, but, the design standards are still there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
They did soil test pits, right? Was it a Adams type sand or?
I have to look, but let me get it.
Well, he looks into that, please. Yeah, welcome.
Hi, Ursula Askins-Huber, 72 Yetton Road, not quite abutting, but nearby. I'm curious about the road. As you probably know, the road has some restrictions at certain seasons for weight for certain kinds of trucks. And I'm wondering if we're anticipating any issues with that. And the other issue I have, or the other question I have, is about the nice sharp turn that comes up right there by the park that you had mentioned earlier. So we go onto Yetton Road from Tenny Mountain and it curves, and we have, that traffic coming in from the already present park there. And lots of near misses there, but I'm just wondering, how are we gonna handle that traffic? I saw that the turn into this plan is further on down the road, almost across from our neighbors. But I'm just wondering about the restrictions on the road, the size of the trucks that might be coming in, and how we're going to handle that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ursula. So I know when we originally when we split these lots, the subdivision, there was DOT approval for that, for the line of sight from that side. I don't know if we spoke towards the other.
Yeah, we're talking about a particular use now,
Yeah.
as opposed to just generic traffic.
Yeah.
And I imagine if it really is just like contractors, it shouldn't be anything different than we might expect on that road, as opposed to any
Large
your
trucking.
industrial use in trucks. I mean, that's kind of I'm not really an expert in this though, so. And I don't really know exactly what's gonna happen there, but that would be my kind of first understanding.
Joe and Brittany Caranta. We live at 33 Yetton Road, so directly across the street from this. Have a couple concerns. First one being the driveway and like the road and everything, like we talked about. Where the driveway is currently is going to bring every single car and truck past our house, and then when they leave, they're going to be going past it again, shining their headlights directly in the front of our house.
Entire master bedroom.
Yeah, so that's definitely a concern of ours, that it's just going to bring a lot of extra traffic to the area. I'm not sure what kind of businesses are going to go in there. Obviously, it's been talked about like different contracting things or whatever. Obviously, some of those guys keep different hours. You know, it is what it is. But I mean, even other businesses that end up in places like this, like a gym or something like that, has a 5:30 in the morning class. You're going to have 20-something people coming through every time you do one of those. I mean, I think that's going to wind up, depending on what business is going here, it's going to be a lot more than just 170 cars, 180 cars a day. And then they're going to be going in and out every single time right through our yard, basically. So that's definitely a concern. Like to see maybe if the driveway could be moved to a different location, something like that would be great. Also concerned with, again, kind of some of the businesses going in there. I know maybe not an auto shop or something, but, you know, exterminators, any kind of companies that have, you know, chemicals and pesticides and stuff potentially could be leaking into the ground, into the well. The brook is right behind our house as well. So just want to have that taken into account, what kind of things going in there, and make sure there's a plan to keep that at bay. So.
May I, Matt?
Great. Yes, please.
I would just encourage you. A lot of those sorts of quality of life issues with a new use nearby are probably going to be more impactful at the special exception hearing than they can be here even.
Be there too.
So
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
When we have previously discussed commercial uses very close to existing residential uses, we have discussed hours of operation. And that seems to be germane to this discussion as well.
Would you like me to address any of the concerns of the neighbors?
Please.
Usually I write them down, and I was busy looking for the soils, so I didn't write them down this time. I'll try to do it from memory, and if you can help me out a little bit if I miss something. As far as the traffic goes, yes, we have to amend the curb cut permit that is already issued for this lot. When it was originally approved, as I said, it was approved for mini storage. That is a very similar traffic-wise generator in that they really don't come during peak hours. Mini storage or even these contractor type things, they come prior to 7. 7 to 9 is the typical commuter in the morning. 4 to 6 is the commuter in the afternoon, and those are the typical PM peak hour times. Contractors typically come before 7 and usually back in their office by 4, 5 o'clock at night. Maybe there's one or two that straggle in because of a late job. Here or there, we do have to amend the DOT curb cut permit. That's what they look at. That's, they look at the specific use, the trips generated from that particular use, and where those trips are going. I think we all know on this one, the trips are gonna be going, you know, back to the interstate, so, and not further up Keaton Road. As far as, a pest, yeah, I'll get to drainage. As far as the, thanks.
Chemical storage?
Chemical storage and stuff like that, there's not gonna be any. If it happens to be rented out to a pest control company, they have very small quantities, and it's something they spray at your house, so it's nothing that's really hurts the environment that much. The location of the driveway, unfortunately, where we have it works best for the land. Elevation-wise, drainage-wise, so I think we're gonna try to keep the driveway where it is. Drainage, the parcel slopes from the rear to the brook. All our drainage runs through a system, through a series of ponds, and then goes out under Yetton Road. Anything that happens from the back of our property up will be unaltered. Flow just doesn't go in that direction. And as we stated earlier, there is a decrease in runoff from, you know, the project and the storms required. Soils-wise, I did find a site-specific soils report that we had prepared as part of this. It's all Group A, B, and C soils, depending on where we are on the parcel. Herman, Monadnock, Madawaskik.
Oh, that's a wetland soil.
That's a 300 soil, so that's not a wetland, is it?
Madawaska?
Yeah. There's Madawaskik somewhat poorly drained, which is a 411. The Madawaskik by itself is a 311, so that's not a wetland soil. There is a couple wetland pockets in there, Buckland and, not Buckland, Telos and Cabot, poorly drained.
But that's not where you're building.
But, well, there is a few spots that we are filling, and we need a dredge and fill for.
But
it's a little linear wetland that's right here. There's a little piece right here, and there's a little piece over here. I can show you on a bigger plan if you'd like, but represents
you have
30.
Monadnock Herman is dominant.
Yes. Yep.
That's a well-drained soil.
It's a well-drained. It's a Group B soil. Monadnock Herman complex. Being a Group
But
B.
you're not gonna pave this.
We are paving it.
Oh, you are paving it?
Yeah, we are paving it. And all the runoff is running to drainage basins.
Catch basins?
Catch basins, then eventually treated and outletted into a gravel wetland and a bioretention basin. Did I miss any of the questions that the public had?
It's a great
I think I hit on,
It's a really good
hit on all of them.
I remember the weight limit restriction.
Oh, weight limit restriction. These being contractor-type uses, vans, small box trucks, no tractor trailers, so I don't believe we'll have an issue with the weight limit on the road.
I think there was a noise concern as well.
Noise, all the use is gonna be pretty much self-contained in the unit. Will a door be left open in the back while they load and unload? There may be, but I don't foresee it that you'd have a lot of forklifts that may beep and things of that sort. You know, it's more, I mean, if you have a flooring company in there, maybe you're moving, you know, some oak or something like that, oak flooring that may be a little heavy, but plumbers, electricians, those type of uses aren't very noisy.
You mentioned these units are gonna be conditioned, it's a pretty large area, are you planning rooftop units?
It's all electric.
Electric.
It's all electric, but are you thinking like electric resistance within the units, or are you thinking like, you know, if you're storing flooring, you're gonna you want it to be air conditioned to control humidity? I presume, part of the reason I ask is that if you're gonna condition these spaces, I would presume you're gonna have some insulation that's also gonna help attenuate any sound from inside the building.
Yeah, it would definitely be insulated.
Okay.
Heat pump style mini split is what I'm envisioning. Humidity control would be through a separate device if they want humidity control. So, yeah, they would definitely be insulated units. Just to address a little bit more, if I could, from the comments. Driveway location, and I get your concern. Are they still here? DOT kind of tells us where we can put driveways based on site distances and other things. So we can't really move it and still be able to basically utilize the site correctly. So I don't know that we can do much about that. I understand your concern, and maybe I can talk to you after a little bit. As far as noise and light and activity, the reason we designed it with the overhead doors facing each other is to contain that within there, so that it's not visible and less audible off-site. That's why we designed it that way.
So the doors are on the back, away from the public side of the street.
Correct. They're
Smaller front doors are on the public side of the street.
yes, exactly. The man door, if you will, that you would walk through would be on this side, but the overhead doors that you drive through are faced at each other, contained, looking at each other, not looking at anybody else. And yeah, to address drainage again, I don't know what the regulations were when the place out front was built, and there's a lot of paved area out there, and there may be some runoff. I don't know. That changed things. But what we're doing contains it and brings it this direction. There really shouldn't be any runoff possible from our site that direction in the neighborhood and direction of the abutter. Not just because of what we're doing, but also there's an elevation change here that means water would have to run uphill to get there. So from what we're doing here, and I know past experience might tell people that when this happened, it changed things, and that may be the case. I don't know, but what we're doing really can't affect that. So,
Thank you, Mark.
I'm wondering if we're at a point where we want to talk about what we want for next time.
Yeah.
That we feel like we're missing right now, or that we just want to remind or whatever.
Right.
Like we mentioned the elevations.
Elevations.
Having some kind of sense of timetable, phasing issues, which might be a little bit open right now, obviously, but at least having some kind of indication of that would be helpful, I think.
I'm actually wondering, could you add a plan that would show the extent of the if you were to phase this and build phase one, could you add a plan that would show what you plan to do at phase one, and then if you're successful, what you have would represent phase two? My only other concern with phasing is my question is there a decision at which if phase one is completed by this date, phase two will either be completed by this date or it will not be undertaken, something along those lines, or
if we only do if phase two is not started by a certain date, do we need an as-built or something to indicate what is actually there as opposed to what's in the plan?
Well, I'm wondering if if the phase one drawing would
Is the
suffice
as-built.
for that.
Yeah.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, that might be sufficient.
And they wouldn't need to do that again, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to put a timeline on it, because if phase one
Right.
works for phase one and they don't feel I just don't, I don't like to put a timeline on that you have to do it, or.
The problem is that if we approve phase one and it gets built now, and then there's a zoning change in 2 years, and they try to build phase two 5 years later, normally, subsequent plans are applications are protected from changes in zoning for a certain amount of time after approval. But if we approve this now, and they build phase one now, and they plan to build phase two down the road, and there's somehow a change, it's different.
Can I ask, is any of this impacted by the new changes within the RSAs?
It is, to an extent, so the vesting period.
Yeah.
Right.
If you begin your active and substantial development within 3 years, the project is vested for a period of, I believe, 7 years at this time. Now, the planning board can specify at the time of approval what constitutes active and substantial developments, and that can be really important when we have a phased project, because we've had instances in the past where the board might say, active and substantial development for this project shall be considered actually just active and substantial on phase one. That will vest you for phase one and two. Whereas if you don't necessarily specify that and development doesn't begin on phase two, you could have a situation where phase one is vested, but phase two is not. So you do have to be a little bit thoughtful when approving a phased plan about what should be adequate to constitute active and substantial development, and should it be phase one and phase two separately, or should it be one active and substantial for the whole project? That's just a consideration.
Yeah, my only reason, you know, I would love to see phase one be successful enough that they definitely build phase two, but, you know, my concern is that if phase two is not built immediately and, you know, something changes down the road, you know, that's the other question in my mind. You know, only in the interest of protecting, you know, it's probably not gonna be me on this board at that point, and, you know, I don't want to encumber future boards making decisions about development, you know. I'm thinking, you know, there's somewhere out there, there's an approval for, the Blueberry Hill development where there's, what, two or three buildings out there now, and there were supposed to be 12. And, you know, could somebody come in with that plan and say, hey, you guys approved this subdivision with all these buildings 20 years ago, we wanna build them now.
Right.
So it might be good to think carefully about our conditions.
Yes, like phasing,
And
phasing is nice, and we want to, you know, I want to assume the best intention on the part of the applicant, but I don't think we should encumber the town in a way that if the town decides to change zoning and somehow phase two is no longer compliant with zoning, that.
They're vested indefinitely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
we can talk about that for conditions eventually, yeah.
I'd just like to add, your plan is correct in that if phase one is built, the project would be vested unless phased, right? I would offer that, and there's something for the board to think about before we come back, is that if we build phase one, knowing that it's vested, or the project is vested for 7 years, that we put a life limit on the project of 7 years. In other words, the second phase would have to be started prior to 7 years from plan signing or whatever the board so chooses.
And otherwise, it would be another site plan.
That sounds reasonable.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
One other question I had, if you don't mind, we don't normally consider off-site improvements, but given the abutters' concern about headlights sweeping across their front yard, would you be amenable to discussing off-site improvements within a butter? Even if it's just, you know, planting some shade trees, you know, a hedgerow. I mean, it's up to you to decide that.
I did mention I would talk to him afterwards. That was sort of my intent, was to discuss that offline with him afterwards, yes.
Okay, I mean, I don't, at this point, I think the board could require off-site improvements, but I'd rather leave that ball in your court.
Okay.
Can I just make a quick comment that I do think that this landscaping plan is done very mindfully, and I just really appreciate that as a plant designer.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, using evergreens.
For the
planting
on-site part
work-
of it.
For the on-site part of it.
My question is the off-site impact of the
So
traffic.
I think
Yeah.
they're set up to do that very well, if they choose to do that.
I agree.
Thank you.
And the last thing I would want to mention is, we did talk during the acceptance phase of this meeting tonight about an engineering review from the town, which we usually do for plans of this size. Even when There's obviously gonna be third-party engineering, review on other sides as well. But just to protect the town, we usually, do that. And, just wanted to kind of remind the board about that and just kind of check in to see if we still stand there or.
So we were also on the topic of other things we wanted to see, right? So plan elevations and potentially photos of other sites if you've built those?
Timetable phasing potentially.
Yeah. Okay.
What about security? I'm just throwing it out there.
That might be a,
You're suggesting armed
like
guards?
reclamation if it doesn't go through, like.
What's that?
Are you suggesting armed guards?
Whatever works for you. Whatever's
Guards
good.
with machine guns standing at the end.
Oh, a reclamation.
Like site reclamation,
Reclamation?
Surety.
which will probably be a condition of approval. We can talk about it now, though, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I thought you were
Wrong
I
word.
thought you were talking about building security.
Nope.
Okay. A financial surety about the bond, about the construction.
Yeah, whether it be a bond or a letter of
That's
credit
usually,
or whatever.
that's usually a condition of approval too, right?
Whichever they.
Yeah.
I think I would also like to see a clearer idea about timing of lights and light use and are lights going to be off at a certain time of day? Are they going to are they going to be on a timer? How are they going to be timed? That kind of information I think is pertinent to the neighbors as well.
Okay, make sure we put a note on the plan accordingly.
Sweet, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question while we're still here? Surety. Does, my first project in Plymouth and hope to do more, is it only for restoration of the site if the contractor was not to complete the job, i.e. loam and seed and things of that sort? Or are we talking surety for the pavement, for the drainage, for some towns require, $500,000 surety because you're paying for everything? Or are we putting a surety for restoration of the site, just in case he happens not to finish?
I think it's for restoration
Yeah.
to pre-development, state.
Or
The equivalent of.
Basically to
just
stabilize
to
the site,
stabilize.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, understand.
Well, I
Thank you.
think that, and also, there's also the thing to consider, it's gonna be rental units. Say he gets the units in there and they're half done and people wanna start moving in and the road's not paved yet. There's nothing that says for us, because it's not like a subdivision where we don't record the plat, they can't sell lots until that.
That's different
So-
though. It's different if there's a private road that's, and, if there's a private road where people are counting on frontage on this private road to get subdivision approval, having surety, a surety for paving of that road is different than what I would see for a parking lot.
And I'm
Because
not
they
necessarily
could
referring
operate
to
with a
just the
gravel lot.
paving, but if some
Yeah.
people start to move in and then he decides not to finish it, and now all of a sudden they've got an unfinished everything, but they've,
It's different if you're selling lots than, this is under one ownership too.
I think reclamation is fine, but
Yeah,
I'm
I
just.
agree.
Mr.
just
Chair, if I
saying.
may.
Sorry, we're working through some of these things on our own.
Typically,
Talking out
no
loud.
one can move into a unit until you obtain a CO from the town. So the town's not gonna issue a CO until the improvements are done.
Right,
So I
that's
think
it.
that's
So
the-
there's
the
there it is.
town's-
Okay. Yep, that's right.
They're on the northerly side of the property, above the storm basin. Is that a dumpster enclosure right there? I'm wondering about refuse and trash and such. And brought the thought to my head, what about dumpsters?
Good question.
There is a snow storage area shown.
Yeah, there's at this location right here.
Yeah, right above that little basin.
That's dumpsters.
Is
And
that
it's a screen
for
dumpster.
the tenants, or the tenants responsible for their own trash, and that's for the management company and their stuff?
Yeah, let us talk about, we'll come
Yeah.
back with an answer. I mean, typically, it's for the users.
Okay.
But then again, if they go and fill it up with chairs from home and desks and stuff, he's gonna be paying. for the
Well, and then my
dumping of
thought
it,
came
right?
to 38, potentially 38 units. is that sufficient? And so, yeah, if you can get back to us with some
we
more
will.
detail on that and a little bit of thought towards the dumpsters.
I would also, looking at this plan, page 3 of 19, I think I commend, yeah, you got the storage there, but you've also got the snow storage area on the northwest corner of the site. I think it's a well-designed plan.
It is one thing we did discuss with conservation, get it away from the wetlands, put it up in the highlands up there, so.
There's typically a lot of salt in that snow that gets plowed off. Yeah, the impact to wetlands can be negative.
I assume that's screened, right, the,
Yes, it is.
The only thing I can say is, pending the outcome of the special exception hearing, I think in general, this is not horribly incompatible with, with the vision of the town. I think at one point, we had considered extending the industrial commercial zone further. Currently it stops at the brook on the other side of the road, and we had discussed potentially extending it all the way out to the Rumney Town line. And I think that's still a consideration for us at some point, but I don't see this as being, like, it is a mixed-use area. There's already retail, or there's already some commercial use out there, and there is also residential very close to there, so,
and it is worth considering that after a ZBA hearing,
yeah.
we might end up seeing something slightly different.
Yeah, and yeah, I certainly don't want to prejudge anything that the ZBA will hear.
I have one more note that I'm seeing, that there's kind of a question of, do we need a master sign plan? Because because it's been proposed a freestanding sign along Getton Road, as well as a direction sign near the entrance. We don't have a size specification. And if the freestanding sign will exceed what is allowed in our zoning ordinance, we have to have a master sign plan, or they need to submit a variance.
So the freestanding sign is a off-site directional sign to the facility.
It's actually located right here.
Oh, okay.
There is a
So there's the directory sign
AI
at the
generated
entrance.
picture.
What page are you on currently that shows that sign?
I'll let you know in a sec. Mark prepared here one night while
Oh, there it is, okay.
driving home at
Is it
11 o'clock.
There's a
So it
proposed
shows you
sign.
what
That's what I'm
AI
looking at here?
does.
It says Yeton Road Business Park.
There you go. Colored
Oh, yeah.
sheet.
Yes, definitely.
I will put dimensions on it, but I will tell you that it will meet the town sign requirements. We won't ask for a variance.
Okay.
And we do have a directional sign, basically right here, saying building A this way, building B that way.
Thank you.
Just noticing the neighbor's mailbox on the other side of the street. Will there be any receptacles or ability for any of these tenants to receive mail at these locations?
We'll make sure we show a centralized mail kiosk box type thing on site. Will, not worked in Plymouth, will the post office enter properties to drop off mail? Some towns, they don't let them, and it has to be on the road. Does anyone here know?
Actually,
don't know the
yes.
answer
I'm not sure about commercially.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
I don't
to
know
that
what's next door either.
Yeah, they've often.
This one here.
They already enter.
Yeah, it's a little thing where you
They have them at the end of the building.
It's on site, I mean, it's on the building? Okay, thank you.
You're presuming we're still gonna have a functioning post office by the time this is built?
Bill? I know.
Sorry, it's going downhill fast.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I'm preparing to close the public hearing momentarily.
Continue.
Thank you. We're going to continue the public hearing. Are there any other comments from the public tonight? Our plan is to continue this public hearing to receive some additional information, and additionally, that second public hearing will be after your meeting with the zoning board of appeals for your special exception for this. Okay.
And for the notification of the public right now, as an extra reminder, Joseph, the date of the ZBA hearing?
So the zoning board of adjustment meeting is on the 3rd of March, 7 PM in this room. And then the planning board's next business meeting is March 19th at 6:30.
I would propose we continue this to March 19th.
With a new board.
Is that a motion?
Sorry,
or
I
a
will
proposal?
move that we continue this to March 19th.
Second.
Oh, it's all yours.
March 19th, there we are. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move this public hearing to March 19th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much. We hope to
Thank
see
you.
everyone again on March 19th.
Thank you for allowing us to at least have the public hearing and get some input and move the project forward. Thank you.
Good discussion.
Thank you for your flexibility.
Thank you. For a minute. Like all over the place tonight.
You're all over the place?
Yeah, like out there.
Okay.
There's a lot going on.
You do, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Good.
And I appreciate your sharing these meetings for us.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Yep.
Jesus.
Next up, we're gonna discuss beer. I'll let the room clear out for a second.
Is there anybody here?
What's it said we're gonna have 2-hour meetings?
I know, I think I was Bill.
Bill?
Yeah.
I'm sure in the legislature, they, one time, I was in the house,
Just get all
I
of
watched
these
the sun
things
come up.
printed out for this meeting.
telling you, I watched the sun come up.
I bet.
Oh my gosh.
In those budget fights.
I know.
Ugh.
I should say to the,
Agony.
I appreciate how long this takes.
Yeah, leave it.
Maybe you'll die.
Looked at the memo.
Wait long enough, you'll go win your vote.
Should look at it. It's me.
More of attrition.
Do you guys have a printer to do
Spear
the
Memorial
library?
Hospital.
You send them out.
Now, is
We
this a
don't have
big one
large-scale
or?
printer or scanner.
We already talked
Luckily,
about
we
this
get
one, haven't we?
those-
We have,
They
and
came
we-
in and
they were not, yeah.
Yeah.
so now they've got an
That would be a
engineer?
nightmare.
We can talk about it.
Thank you. Here's somebody want to. Oh, what happened? Oh,
We can switch it.
fell
Like,
apart.
Just over with, over home.
Oh.
All right, well, thank you, everyone who has held on for the third item on tonight's agenda of applications and public hearings. We'll discuss the site plan review application for Spear Memorial Hospital. Joseph, if you wouldn't mind giving us the recap.
Sure, so this is a continuation of a consideration on an acceptance. It's not actually, the public hearing has not been open, so it's not a continuance like the last one that we just did. This is an instance where, at their November 20th meeting, the board reviewed the application, determined that at that time it could not be found complete. The board advised the applicant of this and asked the applicant to return with some additional information for this meeting. So the applicant has provided a packet, and they have asked that we notice the public hearing. So if the board does accept this evening, the board could open a public hearing. The proposal, broadly speaking, is to convert the existing office building at 44 Langdon Street to 3 multifamily units, which is on what's now a merged parcel of all of the Spear lands in that sort of, let's say all the contiguous Spear properties in that block have now been merged. So it's now one 10.95 acre lot, whereas before this building was on a standalone lot, but it now is merged with the rest of the Spear parcel. It also includes a master sign plan request that includes signage throughout the Spear parcel. The applicant also had a few areas where ZBA approval was required. Since the last time they were here, the applicant did appear before the zoning board, and they did receive a special exception for a multifamily dwelling at 44 Langdon Street in the CI district. They received 4 sign variances, and there was, no, I'm sorry, they received 3 sign variances, and 1 sign variance was denied. So there are some changes to the signage plan from last time. Generally, it's pretty similar, but there are a few areas included in what they now submitted that it is different, and that largely is related to, again, 3 of those sign variances were approved, but 1 was not, and that was for the main entrance sign, internal illumination. The ones that were approved was a variance for cast aluminum logo and letters wall sign facing Avery Street, cast aluminum logo and letters wall sign facing Highland Street, and internally illuminated emergency wall sign facing Avery Street. So those all did receive a variance, and the special exception was approved. So again, the decision now goes back to the board of acceptance of this site plan review of master sign plan application.
Okay.
I recall last time, I mean, I know myself, I really like a lot of what I saw in principle, but it was hard to judge it without the complete information for actual acceptance and approval. So we have a list, right, in our staff report of the things that we asked for last time.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if Jer, if the next item of business might just be to go through the list and see where we stand on each of these.
Yep, was this the completeness? Or,
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Or are you looking at the notice of determination signed by Sue Wood?
I was not looking at the notice, although I know that's in our packet as well.
Yeah, the notice was the sort of formal decision of the board on acceptance as signed by Sue.
yeah, I'd like to go through these and see, what we have here. Because these are the items that we had asked for to come back, correct?
Are you looking at the completeness section under the staff memo?
Yes. Yep.
We talked about all these last time, and the idea of better signage, I think, is wonderful. The idea of housing, I think, is wonderful, but it's hard to judge an application without the information.
No, and I mean, I frankly don't see I don't see this stuff on any new application.
Do you want to go through it with the applicant?
Please, is the applicant here tonight? If so, please come on up to the microphone.
Good evening. Jeff Robbins, I'm the Director of Facilities for Spear Hospital. With regards to the site plan and the completeness, the situation is we have a site plan from, I believe it's 2018, 2017, for the properties involved. That site plan does not have all of the information for the 44 Langdon Street. We don't have a real site plan for that building. Basically, the conditions aren't gonna change, as far as what's there is what's gonna stay. There's gonna be no change to, any sidewalks, curbs, anything at all. So what's there is what will be there. On your questions, as far as North Arrow, that's actually technically is there, it's just not marked as a note with an N. One of the drawings shows it, the first one, the boundary line the boundary line adjustment does show the North Arrow. That arrow's on all the rest of the pages, but it doesn't have the N on it. And again, the address, the I did make an error as far as the engineer. We do have an engineering firm that's, that we have on board. It's H.L. Turner Group. They're the same group that did this site plan when we did our parking lot. So I am now working with them.
So you're working with them to get an updated new site plan that will be complete with all this information?
To update this one or a complete new one if needed. Hopefully we can make this one work.
I don't see, so what I'm confused about is I'm seeing submitted what was the existing one that was submitted from 2017.
I think what they're saying is they're working on a new one, but it's not done yet.
Right.
Okay. So,
Well, I mean, he just said he wants to make this one work, if possible.
If possible,
Oh,
we'd,
okay.
we'd like to make this one work.
I think
But like I
that,
said, we're in discussions with them as to how we would make that work, as opposed to having to do a whole new site plan.
so I think we were looking for an updated site plan with some parking, dumpsters.
Yep.
See if the sand shed that's located was still going to be located there. And I do see the map you provided with like the blue outline and the red outline.
Right.
I don't know as if I feel comfortable accepting the picture as like a site plan to, designate where those items are gonna be going. Does anyone else have thoughts on that?
it's a little complex. I mean, now that the applicant has a special exception, this use has been approved in the zone, which means that there's other, like, life quality requirements that we have to look for, specifically with regards to parking and waste removal and sewage and stuff like that. And if that's not all coherently on one site plan that is up to date, then I don't think that we are keeping our records straight and accurate.
And I think that was the thing at the November 20th meeting that we expressed, is that we needed it really for the records, to update the records, so that 20 years from now, when we're not here, when none of us are here, the records will be updated and complete from when this was done, when this was changed. I think that was the concern back then.
Yeah. I would still like to see a site plan with the updated, parking and dumpster. I would still like to see an updated site plan.
I agree with that. I think it should be too, because this is pretty, really, it doesn't show a whole lot of what changes they want to do. At least I could figure it out.
Chair, for edification for everybody, can we just go over the terminology of a site plan, just so it's clear what a site plan defines, right? An engineering site plan,
Yes.
which includes everything.
So, Joseph, can you speak on that? Because I don't know how far in depth it goes. I know that I'm not recording this with the registry of deeds. as a site
Exactly
plan.
right.
That is what I mean.
Just wanted clarification.
Yeah,
on what we're
good
looking for.
question.
Like,
So-
I don't.
I'm happy to try and speak to that a little bit. So really, I would, to the drainage question, I would say the answer is that redevelopment projects which don't disturb over a certain 5,000 square feet of area or add impervious surface, which this wouldn't, actually don't trigger the require for a new drainage study. So a new site plan may in some instances require a new drainage study, but I don't believe that this particular site would reach that threshold of needing a drainage plan. Now, a site plan, really, I would defer to the site plan regulations, which do state, this plat requirements section here, which is section 16B of the site plan regulations.
Joseph, will you just make that bigger?
Yeah, sure thing. So really just kind of outlining everything that would be together on one sheet that makes it a site plan depicting the proposed conditions of the site. And it would be, basically all of this information put together on a physical plan or one sheet as it pertains to what the proposed uses, utilities, function of the site would be, is really what would constitute generally a site plan under this regulation. And then some site plans require what's under Part 2 here, but not all. So all projects proposing new buildings, changes to exterior dimensions of existing buildings, or an increase in the percentage of impervious surface, then trigger Section 2. So we don't appear to have that. So you don't, for the purposes of a redevelopment, no change in footprint or things like that, you're really just looking at Part 1 of the plat requirements. Part 2 kicks in when you're looking at new buildings, expanding buildings, paving new area. And then Part 3 applies for only where stormwater management plans are required, which again, this project is too small of an impact to require that. So really, it's a tiered system of what makes up an adequate site plan, but really it's all based on those three parts of Section 16B of the site plan regs.
And just to kind of walk this back a little bit, I think last time we met, we were pretty clear about what we wanted and why we wanted it. And we're not finding that this evening. And it sounds like we already made the decision at our last meeting what we wanted, and we stated the reasons why we wanted that. We're not seeing it here, and I think we should continue to wait until we get that. And there's a reason, which we've heard a little bit about tonight, that the town requires this information to record officially in our records. And I think we've kind of already made this decision last time, and we're not really seeing a significant update.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
And I mean, the idea of having housing, I think is fantastic. The idea of having updated, more clear signage, I think is fantastic.
The signs had something to do with it too, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're still considering if it's
But
complete.
still, like, for our process, especially for the longevity and recording things for the next generation, this information is important.
I mean, so for just a really basic example, the first requirement of the plat, or excuse me, the second requirement of the plat is the name of the project or identifying title, and the site plan provided has a different title than the proposed application. So those kinds of details are really important to us.
Did you say you're working with an engineer now, you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
You probably have these records if it's the same one.
It's the same one, yeah.
I mean, it might not be a huge lift then to actually.
It might not be a huge lift, yeah. Because we're not triggering giant drainage studies, there's no big impervious surface changes.
No. Sorry, continue.
But we do need to make sure that the tenants will have places to park,
Yeah.
for example.
And I don't want to put that burden on, and I don't think we're looking to put that burden on of drainage studies and.
No.
Whatsoever.
It's just that first part of that section.
Yeah.
They're building, they're not changing their footprint, are they?
No, and so we're not requiring.
They're just doing interior modifications.
It's a change of use.
Yeah.
Is what happened.
Actually, they're changing it back to the original use.
Yes, but it is still a change of use. From one to another.
I'm waiting for Phil to look something up.
Don't wait for me, it's gonna be a while.
Did you have any comments that you want to add?
Nothing at this point.
Okay. I think we should continue this for, I don't know if continuation is the right word, but I'd like to see really the same information that we asked for in the previous meeting where this was on the agenda for that information.
I think Can we clarify what we were looking for the applicant then? Was it a full site plan for the facility, not just the house, right? I mean, because there were, part of the application was signs that were located other places around the hospital. We don't have a complete site plan for the hospital itself. And I think putting, you know, it's hard to understand the concept, the context of the sign and where they fit in.
Master sign plan.
Yeah, there
It's
could,
not-
the master sign plan could be a separate site plan that's very simple and just depicts the signs, right?
But it's not presented that way, so it's one big one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What they were gonna use, where it was gonna be
Yeah.
placed, wasn't it?
So that is part of the same site plan, so, talking about like, location of signs and stuff being indicated, or?
But it's hard to do that without a full plan showing buildings.
I asked the
parking lot.
question because of that, it's confusing.
It is.
We're saying we want it, and then we say no, it's like we're going, so if we want a site plan, it's what defined part one.
Yeah.
And it says in those minutes that we asked on November 20 that it was an updated site plan. That's what we were asking for.
I guess my question is, what I'm looking for is, and maybe Joseph, you have guidance on this, is, you know, we can have a site plan for a business on a parcel, and we can have multiple site plans for businesses on one parcel. Do our site plan regulations deal with multiple parcels owned by the same entity? Because you know, there are currently several, but it's operating as one facility.
Yep, they did file a voluntary merger, so the hospital, the only piece of this that goes on to a different parcel is part of this new signage plan, which is a piece of signage that is actually across Avery Street, behind the blue hospital sign, in the yard of an office building. So everything, with the merger, both the hospital signage and the multifamily and the parking lot are now on the same lot, but there is.
So it is one parcel?
It is now, yep.
Okay, that's what makes me think that we
Everything on that
actually need
block.
a site plan for the.
Except the
Parcel.
rectory.
Yep.
The entire facility.
Yeah, there are.
Just to document existing conditions, to have context to understand the changes.
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 lots in that block that are under different ownership, but everything that Spear owns is merged. There's a private
That was
home,
my
there's the
question, but
rectory.
The tax map does not indicate that currently.
Correct, it was
which is why
before.
I went to this.
Yeah, it was after the last tax map update had been made and before, well, we haven't yet made an update since that, so that will be reflected come, well, April 1st, and then give them enough time to actually draw everything into the map. So probably realistically, like several months after April 1st, that will be shown on the tax map, but that is filed at the registry, so it is effective. But yeah, that is only the Spear. There are some other private lots on that block, but most of it's Spear.
Is it all contiguous?
It is contiguous, except for the one across,
On the other side of
Street,
Avery?
which is not merged. That's its own lot.
The pediatric office.
I believe so.
That's on the
an
corner,
office.
right?
Yeah, on the corner, across from the general dentistry.
Yeah.
Wow, the hospital's growing.
And
It's getting to be a campus.
So to make it complete, you would want these items, this item 2, 4, 5, and 6, is that correct? In 8, 11, 12, and 70, it appears that there's been waivers requested.
Yeah, the board could decide, I suppose. The board does have the right to consider waivers, so if there's any piece of the plans that the board would be open to granting waivers for, the board certainly has the right to do that. You know, and I think maybe if the board was interested or wanted to grant some waivers, the board could discuss that and see, because theoretically, a complete updated site plan might imply requirements to meet all of those, you know, all of part 1 of what makes a site plan. And if there's something that the board thinks it would be appropriate to waive, you could certainly discuss that, because there are a few items in here where the applicant requests a waiver. The board could, in discussing completeness, which the board is doing now, you could consider those waivers. Though, I guess if you take completeness up again, you'd have to complete them or consider them, when you're ready to make a decision on completeness, either now or at another time.
Like, I'm looking at number 12, for example, the size, location of all existing proposed water main, sewers, culverts, et cetera. If this information is readily available, it would be helpful to have that on an updated site plan for future records.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that's readily available and can quickly be incorporated into a revised plan.
So, what I'm looking for is our site scope of review requirements, and this building is a multifamily building under site plan requirements.
It
There are
is.
more units, so, it's, what I believe the situation is that a scope, under number 3, scope of review, site plan review shall be required for the following non-residential multifamily projects. Under 3, sorry, no.
Are you in the site plan review
Site-
regulations?
Yes. Yeah. I believe the expansion of the multifamily, under 3B, physical expansion or new construction of non-residential or multifamily. So I think this is an expansion of a multifamily use, which triggers under 3B. So it wasn't currently multifamily, it's now multifamily. I think that's a trigger for a full site plan review, which since we don't have a site plan, I believe this is
I mean, it goes under,
justification to require full site plan
it's
review.
also 3A, any change in use.
Change of use.
Well, I mean, either way, it sounds like we as we talked about
Yeah.
last
We
time
just
we
need
met,
to let him know
we need a
what
site
we
plan.
need, what we need on
And,
it.
some of the requested waivers I would like to see on there, if that
Like the sewer mains.
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree, that's really important.
it's helpful to have on there for future generations, and I'm hoping that's like available information that's documented already that can be transferred over.
I think also,
I didn't look closely enough at some of the other documentation that was presented to see if that's all on there or not. Have you, or?
I don't recall the site plan for the parking lot. I don't think it addressed that. That doesn't mean there isn't another plan that addressed that for the building. I'm not aware, one way or the other.
Well, there's pretty much some contours. I don't see any subsurface.
I mean, I'm thinking about this, on the one hand, I think this is all really helpful to have on there. I don't want to make some things I'd really like to see happen overly onerous and burdensome, but at the same time, this is really valuable information to have documented.
I mean, number 17 on the checklist, soil survey data from the Grafton County Soil Survey, I don't feel we need.
No, I would agree with that.
I think, because we're at the site plan review is really at kind of an as-built stage of an existing operating business that just doesn't have a full site plan on file. I think it would be very appropriate to request waivers for many things.
Yes, I would agree too. The estimated construction timetable obviously doesn't apply.
Mm-hmm.
I also think
I'm even okay with the lighting not being, like,
Yeah.
things like drainage show, like, you're often looking for that documentation down the line.
But drainage, I mean, if they're not making changes to drainage, I think it would be a lot of backwards engineering work to document
Yeah, I
what's
know.
existing.
I mean,
Whereas, future changes to drainage might need to be documented, but if they could at least document, parking lots, catch basins, curbing, building locations.
I guess this is why I was saying I don't want this to become burdensome.
Right, I don't either.
And
But at the
total
same
like
time,
excavation work here, but at the same time, if it's available, I'd love to get included. So and it's hard to put that in like legal terminology here. If it's truly not documented right now, I'm not sure I want them to like do all the research necessary to like post-document all that.
right.
But if it is easily available, I'd love to see it included. To have it all in that one place.
I wonder if there's also, sorry, Joseph, a way in which, how do I articulate this? As the applicant said, there is no change in, they're not changing the parking lot, they're not changing the topography, they're just changing the use, but there are certain things that we do need to see updated on a site plan. So
And having it, if they could update the site plan.
that's what we need.
But
I'm getting tired.
But we're trying to figure out what is it that he needs on the site plan so he can go on his
So it's
journey
really
and get it done.
pre-requesting
But
waivers.
yeah.
Or we're pre-authorizing, if you will, waivers that haven't even come, like, I think we should.
Non-committing
Right,
suggestions.
I don't know.
Again, we're going back to, under the site plan 16B, like Joseph just pointed out, the plate requirements. It depends on what we're referring to, the terminology of plate requirements, right? Are we looking at that from a legal standpoint? That means they'll have to hire an engineering firm and have stamped drawings that will go right down it. It's not wishy-washy. Like,
I mean,
like
in
it's
some
just
ways,
it's gonna be an engineered site plan. So how,
in some ways, they have a site plan that they could white out and put another name on.
No.
I fully expect an engineered site plan.
Do you?
have an
Okay.
engineer.
I do.
You have an
Yeah.
engineer. You have an engineer right now, right?
We do.
Okay. So we can get a proper site plan.
A little more detailed than what we've got now. I was-
so,
And the question is like the waivers, we have 4 waivers being requested. And how do we feel about those 4 waivers?
I'm just saying that if they have an engineer right now, he's not gonna be wishy-washy. Meaning, okay, I got some of this, he's gonna make sure all the way through, he's putting his stamp on it, so we're gonna get solid information.
Although an engineer can deal with waivers if there's a requested waiver. Yeah. So like, number 8 is a requested waiver, name, location, curbing, widths of any existing and proposed roads on the property and those existing within 200 feet of the site.
No,
No, we should have that.
I
that
agree.
should be included.
Exterior lighting, a couple of us already said, I'm not really, totally.
I'd like to see it. Exterior lighting is on, well, let me phrase, so like, I don't wanna get rid of what we have, so like, on this site plan from 17 has exterior lighting on the parking lot. I think we should,
Just keep it.
Does that include?
But the facility is much larger than the parking lot.
It is. That's why I was saying maybe
There are multiple
all the
parking
stuff,
lots.
all
There's
the,
multiple
any
lights.
sconce on the side of it, wall or anything else would be included.
not just a lumen plan.
Yeah.
Like, here's a light,
Well-
here's a light, I got it. Yeah.
So,
We have that on the elevation, that's what you're saying,
Okay.
of the building.
I have a question. Are you redesigning your helipad for larger helicopters?
Not in this
We're-
application.
Well, it's all the same,
to this
it's all the
application.
same property.
How do you want to answer that, Michelle?
I guess that's I would say if you're filing a site plan
An FAA
and where
Be a
you
little more
don't
detailed
have one, I would
what
say
we
like
got.
just update, even if you're making changes, bring us one with all the changes.
Yeah.
So I'm Michelle McKeown, the CEO of Spear Memorial Hospital. I'm not sure which question to address first. There's no current plans to change the helipad. We have some concerns from Life Flight of Maine because they have a larger helicopter. We don't use them very often. DART has no problem, and they utilize our helipad. Sometimes it feels like numerous times a day.
We know.
Will you have alternative landing site?
So, yes, right now, during the summer, they used the airport, and right now, we are plowing the field up at Boulder Point, and so when we need DART, they're
So
landing there.
you're not going to be making any changes in your helipad at the hospital?
Not at this time. I
Okay.
mean, we don't want to have to maintain an
This is
off-site,
Plymouth,
but,
you know.
Yeah, I know.
People talk in Plymouth.
I know. So, there may be some changes down the road, but we don't know what those are at this time.
Yeah.
So, that's why.
I just want to make sure if
Yeah.
you were doing something, it was in there.
Yeah, no. Like I said, we might do something, but it would be in the future state. It would not be as part of this.
I would say to your point, Neil, though, I think this is important to consider. If you do start making other changes along the way, that might require review. To have an updated site plan that can simply be updated again would be really helpful, and it'll keep going along with you.
Yeah, definitely.
I understand. I have to say, tonight, seems like the request is a little bit different than what we got the last bird, because we thought we were focusing just on that building and the parking, not the entire block or most of that block we own. The engineer is only focused on that area. He did not and has not been involved with all other pieces, like the main hospital. He doesn't have that documented. That was done by other engineers. I don't even remember. And it's probably not just
I
one.
suspect there've been many over the years.
There probably have been. So that's a pretty big ask, but if that's what you want, we can work on it. I don't know how quickly we can get that. We couldn't get this done quickly enough.
I mean, since, I guess I'm curious, and maybe Joseph can help here as well. So I understand that concept. I guess I'm thinking about the fact that the lots have been merged. Do we need a full site plan of the entire new lot now that they've been merged for this particular area of this development changing use?
So, yeah, it's a good question, right? And I think one part of that is, where does the board consider the change to be taking place, and does the board consider the master sign plan to be changing the site and to be a part of the site plan such that it should be documented? We sometimes see plans where there is an area of a site that is rendered at much higher detail than others because that's the affected area. And I guess the board may want to think about that because, are we thinking about high level of detail for the affected area, low level of detail for the signage, for example, which would be throughout the site? And that could be a good question. Good conversation.
Can I ask if the conversation that happened at the ZBA has any impact on how we consider this application?
I don't exactly see how it does. I mean, the zoning board did look at the sign plan for sure, and they did evaluate the signage. They did approve some and not approve all of the variances. They had some concerns about some of the wayfinding and directional nature of one of the signs that was proposed. And I think you see some of that reflected here, some of those concerns that the zoning board had about people being able to find that emergency department, which they felt was really important and necessary. They didn't really weigh in too much on any of these questions. They really, they addressed signs one at a time, and then the appropriateness of that 44 Langdon building being a multifamily use. They didn't look at, necessarily a full site plan. They were really looking at, does it meet the special exception criteria to have a multifamily in this location? And then for the signage, I did include the notices of decision in here. They made some pretty good findings of fact. Really their only concern was to do with making sure folks can find the emergency department and aren't confused, things like that, which I know the applicant has expressed that they're worried about that too and want to make sure that happens. So beyond that, though, not really. The board, like I said, approved 4 out of the 5 requests. They didn't approve the one, which was the internally illuminated main entrance freestanding sign. They did approve the metal wall signage on the Highland Street face of the building, metal wall signage on the Avery Street face of the building, the red illuminated emergency sign on that face, and then the multifamily. The only one, this application now proposes a slightly different configuration around the main entrance, still a freestanding podium sign, but they're proposing now backlit metal letters instead of an internally illuminated face.
So I guess where I'm standing is I would love to see this taken care of expediently. At the same time, I see lots of applicants coming in here who I presume probably do not have the capacity of a fairly large medical institution who are coming to us with full site plans.
And sometimes because of lot mergers, Three Lakes on, they merged 3 of their lots. And when they came to us, I forget what it was for last year, they because they merged those lots, they triggered several things
Study.
because of those lot mergers.
Yeah.
Right.
Which,
And they brought that all in.
yeah, and
As a smaller business.
We're not asking for a drainage study on this,
No.
because the
No,
drainage
no,
is
no.
existing, however. So my concern with this is that this is a big ask for us to require of them to do a full site plan of the entire parcel. And I suspect that it might lead to them abandoning the conversion of this building to residential. And I would hate to forego, I would hate for them to forego the creation of residential units just to not put this off. I mean, this might be a large enough project that the financial impacts would prevent them from moving forward with the housing. And you know, the site, it would be nice to have a master sign plan incorporated into the site plan. I suspect they can move forward. I do think it's important that the conditions on the site be documented in whole, as a whole, before any major changes take place. I'm not sure this is the major change that needs to trigger that.
Can we have, like, does a master sign plan and where those signs are located have to have as much detail as a site plan? I mean, when I'm imagining a site plan and what would be helpful for me to see to make sure that we do our due diligence here, I'm not personally imagining the entire Spear campus. I'm imagining the pertinent area, and then a master sign plan, which is a distinct piece of paper that has enough on it so that we know where these signs are going and are able to understand how it's going to impact the site generally. But I don't need to know every single detailed topography on that type of site plan. Is that something that we can accept?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see
That's
why
what I'm
not.
envisioning.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
The planning board has considerable flexibility in what it considers acceptable as a master sign plan. The master sign plan is described in one paragraph of the zoning ordinance, and it says that the planning board may, as a part of site plan review, approve a master sign plan exempting applicants from specifically requirements related to freestanding signs. So it does not prescribe exactly what level of detail. So the board must review it as a part of a site plan review, but it does not give it leaves the planning board some flexibility in determining what exactly the board finds acceptable for the master sign plan component of that site plan. So, yes, I would say you have flexibility in terms of deciding what.
So you're thinking a 2-scale site plan of the whole facility without a lot of detail?
With
So we know
buildings,
where
with roads,
Yeah,
with locations of the signs.
yes. And then a more detailed site plan, as it's already being worked on, I guess, with
For this
the,
particular building and the
Yes.
pertinent surrounding area, including where
yeah.
parking is, including
Yes,
where
yes,
waste
yes.
disposal
we
is,
have.
including where the sewage is going, and where the water's coming in.
Not so much detail for the hospital itself, but where everything is sort of located around it, and what they wanna do, right?
And I still think the entire lot, buildings, egresses, drives, you know, like
Yep.
the major stuff.
Pretty much everything that's on the requirement for a site plan, but not for the entire
Yeah.
site. For the site that is this particular building, the relevant area. I don't think we need the soil details.
You can get them on web soil survey.
Oh, so pretty easy.
It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Get on your laptop. You don't need them though.
this sounds reasonable to me.
I would think that an 11 by 17 with,
Yeah.
you know, kind of an overview of, you know, tax map outline, even remote imagery, just showing the location of signs and details on the individual signs that are approved would be okay for a sign
Yeah,
plan.
I totally
Do
agree.
we have the Walmart master plan?
Yeah, we did approve a master sign plan
And
for Walmart.
I do not recall that plan being extremely detailed. And that is public record.
Yeah, the
That
master
could be used
sign
as
plan.
reference.
Yeah, Walmart did provide a master sign plan for their site. And like you said, it showed, I mean, they already had a site plan for the whole site, so it was a sheet of that site plan
Okay.
that really just highlighted the signage features. It basically just took the outlines, the contours. It basically took
Parking
the
lot, the
features
structure
from
of the building.
those, exactly, and highlighted what
They
each
were
size-
altering their building for that.
They were, and so they triggered.
Oh, so they had more detail in it because
Yeah,
of that.
that was
Okay,
a-
not
that
a
was
good
a-
example.
But the
plan.
sign plan itself really just grabbed like the elements of, you know, the location of the parking lot and the building, and those elements really can be grabbed from remote imagery, even the overlay of
Sure.
something like a tax map or, you know, something more crude.
Like, I guess,
I'd still like to see on the whole plan, buildings, parking lots, you know, on the entire plan, of the whole parcel.
For the master plan?
For the sign plan or for a full site plan?
For the site plan, I'm sorry.
Site plan.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it makes sense to require a full site plan at this point for the
For this change of use?
change of use
specifically.
of the building from,
Yeah, I think that if
Institutional
they
to
were
residential.
significantly changing impervious area or significantly changing other parts of it, I would wanna see the whole site, but since it is just a change of use and there are specific requirements because of that particular type of change, I'm fine with just seeing the building and the surrounding area and then a master sign plan for the whole parcel
Parcel, yeah.
with less detail.
with less detail.
and I am concerned that future developments, or I would like to see a complete site plan for any major future
Yes.
developments
Absolutely.
that would document all of the conditions within the city block or the parcel as it is. So where are we with this?
Are we all on the same page about this?
We need to delay this again, I guess.
If we're all,
Can we
so
move
are
forward
we all
with
on
this?
Are we all on the same page about this, and do you have enough information, if we are, Joseph, to like communicate this and relay this?
So I'll just quickly ask that the board, I would, there's a couple of ways the board can handle incompleteness. The board's done this a few different ways over the different times that we've seen this question. Last time, the board issued a formal decision and said we do not find this application complete, made findings of fact, outlined that, and we provided that written decision to the applicant, advising them of that decision. And the board at that time had spoken to the applicant about a time frame for their ability to return with the requested information. The board could do a few different things. The board could basically accept the application, deny the application without prejudice for lack of information, not necessarily the way that always makes sense when you're not accepting it. When you just make a decision on acceptance, you haven't held a public hearing, so you can't have a decision on the merits. But an acceptance or not acceptance is a decision. You could also delay that decision in some ways, but you do need a written or sort of a formal adoption of some facts that go along with that, I would advise. And then I would advise having kind of a conversation perhaps about an appropriate time frame for return, at which this would be basically a continuation of considering acceptance of this application, or at what point would it be considered a new application? Because if you deny the application without prejudice for lack of information, that would require a whole new site plan application be submitted in the future. If you don't formally deny it, you just decline to accept it and choose to extend the applicant's sort of consideration of acceptance, you can do that, or the board has done that in the past. The applicant would likely still need to pay again for another public hearing, unfortunately, because we can't continue a public hearing. It would have to be a totally new notice of public hearing, unless we opened a public hearing on the application tonight and then continued it.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a finding of fact that the requested information from the last time we met has not been submitted by the applicant. I am also gonna make a finding of fact that the applicant has indicated that they are currently working with an engineer on a site plan for the specific building that's having a change of use and the adjacent land. With that being said, I'm going to motion that we continue this consideration of this application for completeness. and that we would like to see a site plan, including the adjacent land for the building that's going to have a change of use for multifamily housing, with the requirements in part 1 of our site plan requirements. And that we have a full plan of the entire lot and property with roads, buildings.
More detail.
And basic contours of, well, I shouldn't use the word contour.
Landmarks.
Basic landmarks.
Improvements.
To indicate where the signs are in the master sign plan that's being submitted. Does that cover everything?
And written waivers for any requests.
And written waivers for any.
Well, in the findings of fact, should we make note of the things that were approved by the ZBA?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, we should.
Yes.
There was a special exception for multifamily dwelling in the CI zoning district, which was approved. The variance for cast aluminum logo and letters wall sign facing Avery Street was approved. Variance for cast aluminum logo and letters wall sign facing Highland Street was approved. Variance for internally illuminated emergency wall sign facing Avery Street was approved. Variance for internally illuminated main entrance sign facing Highland Street was denied.
Thank you, Sue. And we do still have a motion on the table.
Second.
There you go. We have a motion and a second. Discussion on this. Any other questions?
Got it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, we look forward to seeing you back.
Is it clear what you're supposed to get? Do we make that? And I just wanna make sure that when you leave, there's no,
Yeah.
Well, they can communicate with Joseph.
well, they can, but they're standing here right now and we just did it, so why not, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think what our engineer is currently working on will meet what you've just clarified. I thought we were going in a different direction before that, but I appreciate the left turn that we took. And we can certainly try to find something that could be at a higher level, just so we can identify where the signs go. Because I know we've presented the pictures, and most of you probably live here and know exactly where those are gonna go, but we can do that on a.
Yeah, and all the buildings on the lot, like, don't have to be exact, in depth, but we did wanna see the entire.
I'm really thinking that, like,
The landmarks where we can locate things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much
a
appreciated.
remote image of that showing those locations, I think is fine for me. Like, I don't need it to be an engineered plan showing parking lots, curbs.
We'll just file that, Phil.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, not just.
I need to be able to look at the map and know where the signs are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
More like this. Yes.
Typical night.
I guess the literal.
Did you say
The literal
conceptual?
big picture here.
Imagine.
Gotta keep the meetings fun.
Oh my God.
Spicy.
We done?
On to item number 6 on our agenda tonight. Information on pre-application reviews, Joseph.
I don't have anything for tonight. I'll keep the board apprised. Someone did reach out about a potential one for a future meeting, so I can be in touch with you about scheduling, if the board is willing to schedule a conceptual for a work session. That is, I know there was some chat about the March work session, given that we do have the community meeting on Monday, March 2nd, which was, I guess, also an announcement.
What time is that?
6:30.
6:30, I think.
6:30. Refer to the flyer on the website for the public at home, but I will tell you also right now because.
Or for those members who didn't make the last meeting?
Yes. That is 6:30 p.m. Bobcat Cafe of Plymouth Regional High School.
6:30. I'm gonna put that on the calendar right now.
Yep, so that's on Monday. So again, all that is to say, yeah, we can be in touch about that, but if the board decides to cancel that work session, then it's a moot conversation, I suppose.
What are we titling this? Is it?
It's a housing engagement session of some sort.
Yeah, Housing Master Plan Project Community Meeting.
Yeah, community meeting is what it's been called.
Judy's gonna be there.
Yep. Judy Barrett and her team will be there.
Perfect. Sounds like a party. Other business?
I just have one quick other business. There is a.
Wait, actually, wait.
Did I miss something?
Were we talking about the Thursday meeting and if we're gonna go forward with that or not?
Yes.
The next meeting?
The 5th?
The one right after the.
Will we be
master plan
meeting on the 5th?
That's the question.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's when we started
Do we
talking
have,
about that.
do we have agenda items for that meeting?
It's a work session. So, there was an individual who asked about potentially moving a conceptual consultation to the work session instead of the business meeting, but with it being a work session, generally would be work on planning-related projects. Last time we talked about subdivision regulations and some road standards.
we didn't get to talk to highway department at that meeting.
Correct.
So-
And Highway is willing to meet with the board. Steve is open to meeting with the board at an upcoming work session. It's just, when the board is ready to have that conversation.
Can I just ask, before we get there, are you all working on videos?
I don't know.
That might be something to talk about at the
I
work
haven't
session.
had a chance to because I've been absolutely hammered by work, but it is
And
my
I haven't had
goal.
a chance to because I'm waiting for her.
Yeah.
Do you need any help?
I would love some help, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I would be very disappointed if this board did not meet one more time as this board on the 5th.
Yeah, even if it's.
And I think we would have a fruitful discussion about the outcome of the meeting on Monday.
Sure.
Okay.
My goal is I would like to have the videos done, by the first Friday of March, ideally. February is going by very fast, but that gives us, I think at least a week.
Keep in mind,
Before-
the first Friday of March is only 4 days before town meeting.
Okay, I
and
want to
people
have
will be voting.
Oh, Lord in heaven. Okay, yeah, I need help with these this year.
So I can step in and help a bit. We can coordinate with that.
Okay.
Excellent.
As Matt knows, I've helped with this before.
Very much so.
So end of the month was really the goal.
green.
Wear green. Don't wear green. Don't wear green.
Don't worry, the stars will still be the ones in front of the camera.
Exactly. I'm just, I'm willing to help as long as it's simple and you keep it and send me the right direction, so I don't get me confused. I'd call Bob.
I'm gonna use my thesaurus. I'm gonna find the biggest
The
word.
biggest, most crazy words.
Great. All right, I'll be calling Molly every 10 minutes. Hey,
No.
what's this?
No, no, we want to be understood.
All right, you guys will organize
we'll
that.
do that.
We will meet again on the 5th. We'll see everyone the 2nd, hopefully, at the community meeting.
Do we want to entertain a conceptual consultation on the 5th?
You know that.
I think we should, yeah. If they do come forward.
I know one of them was I do more homework than this. That's really
Sometimes that's nice to take that burden off Joseph's shoulders to answer that question for him.
Also the 5th.
And you had something else you were saying when I interrupted because
Oh, yeah.
I was on with the meeting.
I'm glad you mentioned it first, because this is a other unrelated item. So the other business is just that at the select board meeting on Monday, the town is receiving a housing champion designation. There's a visitor from New Hampshire Department of Business and Economic Affairs, and some other folks who I don't know the full roster, but they've invited
Definitely
others.
Leanne and some other people.
Leanne Moynihan of New Hampshire BEA and some others will be there to present the designation. So if anybody would like to attend, it's a select board meeting, open to the public.
And there's a big public hearing as well on the tax cap or something?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a
Yeah,
public hearing.
there's a warrant. I think there was a petition warrant about tax cap. That is public hearing on.
It might be a juicy one.
Will you be accepting it? Like shaking in one hand, receiving in the other? Thank you?
I think, I don't know.
I think you should. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, there is a physical plaque associated with it that we'll be able to put up in town hall or wherever.
I would be honored
There
if
it is,
those
Joe.
members of the housing committee and planning board that have spent a lot of time on that would be there.
They've done some big photo ops in some of the other towns.
Yeah.
So sorry, that's on the 23rd?
Yep.
Okay.
Monday, and the meeting is at 5.
Yep.
You have to be a star.
Is all those dates on the website? They are?
Mhm.
Okay.
If you go to the calendar, especially on the right-hand side of the website, it has those.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Thank you for sharing that.
Definitely.
Excellent. Let's see here, folks. Public comments, I don't think we have anyone online. All right, excellent night, everyone. We have one more meeting together.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Opposed and abstentions? Thank you very much.
I need my own motion.